Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $9.99. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only, by God, there's football podcast. I'm Joel Gasson with John Fraser, as usual. Some things to get to today, as yes, 'tis the season, the week is here. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will play a football game this week.
Woo!
I mean, barely. It is a preseason game, so
right.
But we will still discuss it. This is like maybe our one episode a year where maybe we talk a little bit more about the game ahead than the one behind us, because there is no game behind us.
That's right. I mean, there was. It was just a real long time ago and is now completely irrelevant.
And yeah, like it was November, and I honestly don't really remember much of what happened in that game at this point. So there's no point in breaking down the West Final again.
No sense at all. Definitely, you know what? Let's not talk about anything that happened after that West Final either. This is a clean slate.
That is what a new season. That is what a new season brings, though. The Riders are once again playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And for some reason, they will again next week as well.
Why not, eh?
And I understand why everyone's playing their closest proximity rival in the preseason because it's cheaper than playing anyone else. But I mean, from a fan perspective, I think it would have been nice to perhaps see an Edmonton or a Calgary in one of the 2 weeks instead of Winnipeg in both weeks. But it's preseason, I guess. Who cares? We're nitpicking a little bit.
We're not going to be.
But that's what that is, yeah.
We're not really going to be watching. We're just going to kind of see what Dave Thomas says about the game. And again, not the Wendy's guy, the play-by-play guy.
Well, that'll be next week at home. If you're watching that on CFL Plus, I assume it'll be Dave Thomas and the radio crew over probably the Maxtron feed. But we'll see what the Riders cook up for that. This week we'll get to listen to DT, I assume.
Oh yes,
because it's in Winnipeg. Right. So I assume CJOB will be on there, which will be a nice treat for everyone as well.
Of course, as we all know what we think about DT and the CJOB crew. Of course, that also means it is back to lawn mowing season, except I'm going to be a little busy Saturday afternoon, as I don't know if you could have picked a worse time to have a third game of a lacrosse championship series and a CFL game.
I mean, at least, well, I mean, true on one hand, but two, I mean, even for not you, obviously for you, you are paid by the club, so obviously you're going to pay attention to the club that you are paid by.
And in fairness, and in my position, I'm allowed to be a super fan and a total homer, and I absolutely love it because.
But I would say even if you were a casual observer of either team, you better be watching the Rush on Saturday and not the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I'm sorry.
Right, 100%. Right,
because one, the championship is literally on the line. The other is the first preseason game of the year, which is always the worst preseason game of the year.
100%. Sloppy football with a whole bunch of guys that are going to hang up their jerseys as they are insurance salesmen. So
yeah, we're really selling this game hard. So we'll talk about that. What we'll be looking for in that game a little bit that you should definitely watch because it's going to be a thing that happens. We're also going to talk about how the Riders are once again, without even having played a single game yet, dealing with a myriad of offensive line injuries.
Yeah, yikes.
And then we'll talk about what we're looking at the game as well. And practice was stopped today as we recorded this on Thursday, May 22nd, as Corey Mace getting tired of some after the whistle shenanigans.
That's right. And making them run old school. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to all that, though, speaking of broadcasts and probably the highest quality broadcast.
Question mark
often. The CFL on TSN. It was reported by 3downnation.com after we recorded last week, of course.
Of course.
Which means probably on Friday, as you listen to this, There will probably be updates from Justin Dunk or John Hodge in terms of what is happening since what we're going to talk about. So,
of course,
you're welcome, everyone.
That's right. Yeah.
You've surely heard the news by now that reportedly Matt Dunnigan is out at the CFL on TSN. He had been there since the 2000s. He's been there forever. Like, essentially, if you think of the CFL on TSN, Matt Dunnigan has been there for that long. And he's apparently no longer going to be there. There could be more changes on the horizon. Who knows? It does sound like this is not like a personal sort of decision. It was, listening to the guys on the 3 Down Nation podcast, at least, this was a decision that was made.
Yes.
So it will be interesting to see where this goes. Who, if anyone, is coming in. It's reading between the lines, or listening between the lines, I suppose, on a podcast. Listening to JC, John, and Justin Dunk talk about this. It does sound like someone is on the horizon. We don't quite know who yet.
Interesting.
All that they would say is that it is not a quarterback, which is an interesting scenario that now the CFL on TSN has left itself at, which is they do not have a quarterback on their roster right now, which is just I don't know if it's necessarily detrimental for a year, but it's certainly an interesting quirk.
No, I would certainly agree. And yeah, you think you want the guys who've seen the game best, but I guess, a lot of the guys on the CFL and TSN are mainstays. Listen, we are both big Dunnigan fans. I am a huge fan of him in the booth.
I love him in the booth. His panel work was hit and miss. I feel like he was, and we've talked about this a lot, he is much better when he just is reacting to what is happening in front of him versus having to sit there and think about it.
Yes,
so
100%.
I absolutely loved him in the booth. I loved his energy that he brought to the game. Yes, some of the stuff he said was over the top and maybe didn't always make sense, but you could not deny the man's passion for the game.
Yes, yeah. The man and him and Dusty as a duo were just perfection. Best crew of the year in my books, and you and I were talking about this a bit in our preamble that we're both, pro Dunnigan guys and sad to see him go, but we're also the same two guys that have been sitting here beating the drum for change at the CFL and TSN forever, right? And it's nice to see, and I don't know who's making the decisions there, that I'm hoping that if Dunnigan's gone, it's a precursor to a larger swath of moves. I would hate, to me, it would be an injustice to just get rid of Dunnigan and decide that you're going to be boring and terrible. But if this is the first domino to fall in a series of moves, don't hate it. If this is the only change they're going to make and make themselves more boring, absolutely hate it. Excuse me while I watch the games on mute.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know for sure yet. I remember hearing a few months ago that it sounded like change was afoot. Paul Graham, who had, of course, been in charge of basically everything that the live broadcast had offered for the longest time there, of course, retired this past season. So this was like the first season without him in charge of basically live programming at TSN. So I think we're going to see some changes, and I think it's long overdue. Whether they work out or not and are better is an entirely different question, but you cannot do new things without trying it, and some of it will work, some of it won't, but I assume over time they will figure it out, because they just will, because, as much as we hammer on TSN sometimes for a little bit of the attitude they have around there, they are very good at what they do.
Well, 100%.
And especially the people behind the scenes who put this stuff together. And, I think the hint of change we saw, well, both of us saw it, and some of you obviously saw it as well, during what used to be called the Season of Champions, was there was definitely a different feel, which is a whole other discussion, which we talked about, to the curling coverage on TSN, but there's also a lot of a different look to it, which to me makes me believe, okay, this is the start of, we've seen a few packages over the last couple of years for them change, and I think it's pretty safe to say continuing this pattern, maybe not fully this year, but I think by next year for sure we should see like a 100% different broadcast.
No, certainly, and as long as Dusty stays, of course.
Of course, I don't imagine there's going to be any play-by-play changes.
I mean, there should be one.
Analysts could be a different question, but
right.
The actual play-by-play people, probably not.
I mean, there should be one. Let's just put it out there right now. I'm not going to name names because I guess I'm technically back under contract. I'm not on TSN, but I'm working for the Rush this weekend. But no, it is good to see. You and I said that we weren't super huge fans of the change in direction of the curling coverage. Just it seemed to be this super serious thing while the Slams are doing everything really fun. but it's a change, right? Yeah. So things are changing. It can only be good for the CFL. I hope they take some cues from the UFL with, some mic'd up players, some fun stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. And to me, that might be the only reason to really watch a preseason broadcast all the way through, to see what kind of things they're doing and what kind of names they're going to roll. I would be curious
if they would actually unroll something new at a preseason game, though. Or if they would say, like a big change, I think. Like some little minor things you might notice.
Right.
But, I think when they did the timeouts, when that finally got on the score bug, I don't remember if that actually debuted in a preseason game or not.
No, I'm not sure, to be honest, because again, I know especially a couple of years, the preseason, I was mostly listening to either our boy DT or our boy DT.
Yes. Fair enough.
Ah.
And I know there's been some discussion about the preseason schedule in general. I'm kind of over whether TSN needs to do more than 2 games.
Right.
There was a time I used to think they should do more for the preseason, but ultimately I think preseason football, out of sort of the major sports in North America, is by far the worst preseason.
I would certainly agree.
So
yeah.
I don't know if you really want that to be as easily accessible as possible. I think it's okay if you have to go to the hardcores will find it on CFL Plus in Canada, and that's fine. I don't think you need it fully on TSN. You're not building an audience with the preseason. No. They do terrible numbers on TV. They're generally terrible games to watch. And it's just not good football. Like, I mean, you think about it. Hockey is random enough that a preseason game can still kind of be entertaining. Baseball is
some 18-year-old kid or 37-year-old vet scores an unbelievable goal.
Yeah. Baseball is a team sport played by individuals, so whether teams are going full out or not, you don't really notice much of a difference, which is why their all-star game kind of works.
Exactly. Yeah, there's kind of the only one that it does.
Basketball, there's still, I have never watched an NBA preseason game, so I don't know. But I assume there's still some semblance of basketball being played. It's not teams trying to literally figure things out how it works. So, I mean, at the end of the day, football is just such a jumbled mess where they're just trying to figure out different things in different scenarios in the middle of a game versus just playing a game that, it's fine if it's not on TV. Now, I wouldn't be upset if TSN suddenly wanted to do more games, but I'm also not sitting here crowing saying, TSN really needs to do more preseason games, because I'm like, honestly, if they weren't even on CFL Plus, I wouldn't even care.
That is certainly
Except
true.
Both Rider games need to be, accessible by video for me doing my job.
Of course. Now and again, it's bad when both of us are fully admitted football sickos, and we're like, preseason, meh.
Sickos, you say?
Hint, hint, question mark.
Interesting.
Sickos with an S.
I think the Riders are getting sick of just dealing with so many injuries along the offensive line.
I know, right?
So we will get into that and a whole bunch more. But as usual, John, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
Well, I've already consumed one, and I'm on my second one. Thanks to Pile of Bones rep Adam, who was in the store not too long ago picking up some new wheels. He came by with a sample. I can only describe it as a platter.
A charcuterie of beers.
Yeah, it really was. I had some white IPAs. There's some Cosmic Celebrations. There's the Corky Beer of the Year winner in there, and of course, as I work late on a Thursday, I've already downed a white IPA, and I'm now on to the Cosmic Celebration IPA. A beer is great because I had to, as soon as Adam brought this flat of beers to me in my office, I could see people lurking around.
Did you give him the undercoating for free for it, or?
I actually got him a stupid good interest rate and gave him a discount on warranty. So basically, yes. No, I did. There was reciprocal. I want to help our boy Adam out, and so he brings the flat. And you can see heads poking out of offices. Oh, what you got there? Huh? So I did a beeline to my truck, put it in the back of my truck, and I can tell you, it wasn't exceptionally warm today.
No.
But a beer is great when you can just basically jam it in the fridge for 15 minutes, take it out, and it's this is still good.
The sign of a good beer is you can drink it warm, room temperature, not hot.
Room
temperature. Even a beer you should drink cold. Like an IPA, if it still tastes fine warm, that's when you know it's a good beer.
And that's the Cosmic Celebration IPA right now. You can literally have them warm. They can be sitting warm on the deck or whatever, and it's quite good. I do find, though, I almost drink them faster when they're warm. So we might get into, and I'm on an empty stomach, so we might get into some real off-the-wall John takes this episode.
Well, we did the thing again because I also have a Cosmic Celebration IPA. So,
well, shit.
And no, we never planned this.
Never.
This has happened far too often for us, and we never plan a single one of these.
Did you buy them, or were they dropped off to you?
No, I bought a 4-pack when I was there a couple weeks ago.
Amazing. That's just like, and that's the funny thing. Like, this is the Cosmic Celebration is, I love it. I absolutely love it. But this kind of summer, I'm usually like, I'm moving to my white IPA era. But Cosmic Celebration,
Cosmic's probably my favorite beer by them, I think.
It's up there for me too.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's behind the Double White, but it is up there with Space Cadet, the White, and then I think you need an offshoot category for Fruit Loop.
Which is coming back soon, by the way.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, Fruit Loop will be back soon. Yep.
I literally, every time I go to the liquor store, I'm checking for Fruit Loop. So we did the thing.
The Riders are unfortunately still doing their thing. Late.
Ugh.
Stop me if you've heard this before. The Riders are dealing with injuries along the offensive line. We learned this week that perhaps their biggest free agent acquisition, Sean McEwen, is dealing with an injury.
Yes.
And the team
no word
on how long.
But really it's going to be a while. That's all we know.
It's going to be a while, which is never positive. And now Philip Gagnon, their other sort of offensive line injury and free agent sign in the offseason, is dealing with a bicep injury. They don't think it's season ending, but that's still not good when you're talking about upper body arm sort of stuff with an offensive lineman.
According to our website, it is Justin Dunk's got it on here that it is a torn bicep, and the quote from Mace is, "It might not be season ending." Which that puts you full of optimism. Woo!
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about it at this point, which is not good for, a medium where we discuss things.
Right.
But like, I don't know.
I think the reaction, if you can hear Maya crying right now.
I heard that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. She's just being 3. Don't worry, nothing serious is happening. But I feel like that should be the reaction to most Rider fans at this news. Just like, let the tears out, like you're 3, and you've been told that you have to have a snack and go to bed.
I mean, I guess the only silver lining is that it's so early that there's time to figure out what they're going to do.
Right. And both these guys are out. This is not a week-to-week hopeful thing.
No.
It's like, okay,
this is going to be some long-term stuff. So
we had this plan. This plan is shot. What the hell do we do now?
Yeah. I mean, if you knew and if you could have had a crystal ball in retrospect, you probably re-signed Peter Godber.
Yeah. But
hey, at the time, you had no idea, obviously, what's going to happen. We both agreed the theory of upgrading to Sean McEwen at center was good. So,
100%.
This doesn't make the signing bad all of a sudden. It's just an unfortunate situation. That just seems to be an unfortunate situation that just keeps happening to this team. And, it's almost to the point where either A, they're cursed, or B, it's beyond coincidence.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's beyond coincidence at this point? And I have no idea how, it could not. I have no idea what they could, if there's anything they could possibly do different to stop this from happening, but it seems to keep happening.
Yeah. And across multiple eras of coaches. This is not a Corey Mace thing. Maybe he's running his guys too hard. The athletic training staff has changed. It's just, and you're right. What the hell do you do? It's not like you could, an arm injury, you're not blaming the turf.
No.
Right? And there's brand new turf at Griffith Stadium as well. So it's not like they're practicing.
Better there than it is in Mosaic.
Close your eyes and imagine what you'll look like 6 months from now. How's your hair look? The same? Now picture how your hair would look if you started using Hims. If you're picturing the same you as before, but with much thicker and fuller hair, you'd be correct. What can happen in 3 to 6 months? You could pick up a new hobby and get not that good at it yet. You could do about half of your New Year's resolution. You could learn a few songs on the piano or pick up bass guitar, or you could start seeing thicker, fuller hair regrowth through Hims. Not bad for just 3 to 6 months. Men, if you're starting to notice your hair thinning when you look in the mirror, you're not alone. Life just gets busier and busier, and it can feel like there's not enough time in the day to do something about it. So, try Hims Hair Loss Solutions. You can avoid jumping through a bunch of frustrating hoops and get access to treatment without even leaving your home. Hims provides you with the convenient access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients, like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from personalized chewable, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online, so there are no uncomfortable doctor visits. Answer a few questions and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and they can help you get your confidence back too with visibly thicker and fuller hair. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Hail Mary. That's HIMS.com/Hail Mary for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/Hail Mary. Results may vary based on studies on topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
From what I've heard, yes, it is. But you wonder, like, maybe it's an off-season training thing they're giving to the guys. Maybe it's just, I don't know. You and I are nowhere near smart enough to try to pretend to know these things, but it is
smart enough to talk about football.
That's fair, and we barely talk about football, which is why we're so popular.
We were last time for some reason.
Yeah, what the hell? Thanks to all you new listeners. There's way more than 7 of you now. Now I actually got to do research and shit. But even Greg listened to us, and Greg never listens to us. So that's how you know we were popular. But I don't know. I don't know how you'd even look into changing something like this. No. But it just seems it is constant and unrelenting. But how about being Noah Zur? You're cut first week of camp. 2 guys go down and, hey, welcome back, Noah Zur. No hard feelings. You're good. Hey, slap on the ass.
That's
football.
That's football, right? And I know Justin Dunk brought up the point on the 3 Down podcast, and I get it that they got through it last year. The coaching staff, the system is in with Trevor Harris is very offensive line friendly. It's basically one step throw, right? So they are well versed at this. They know how to get through this, but at a certain point, it's been so much that it's like the other shoe has to drop here, and it has to catch up to you at some point. And this is now the biggest question mark for this team coming into the year because there's little bits and pieces we could talk about before, but now it's okay, this is the clear question mark and what is going to happen, because coming into the season, perhaps it was okay, is Jake Mayer the best? Is he really the backup quarterback of this team?
Right.
I don't know. That was maybe the question. Had they figured things out in the secondary? It's but now here we go with the offensive line again, and can they do it again with a revolving door again? Not play style, obviously, but just with names along the line. And at a certain point, the answer is going to be no. At a certain point, you just cannot keep revolving names in and out of there and expect it to continue to work.
Well, we've seen that in past seasons, before Corey Mace got here, right? Yeah. You saw what happened to Cody Fajardo in his last season as rider starter. Cody ran with reckless abandon, but 2, it's he was behind, a bunch of guys held together with duct tape and string, right? There was a reason he was getting hurt and got gun shy and all these things, right? So, again, you made the point there. If you're going to lose offensive linemen for the very long term, the best time to do it is as early as you possibly could.
Yeah.
right? Unless this happened to somebody in the
Unless
off-season.
this happened like a week before free agency opened.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's about it,
Yeah.
right? So it is. I don't know if maybe just so many people sold their souls in 2013 to win a home Grey Cup that this is whatever entity it might be just going, you are hurt with a voodoo doll.
I mean, that has to be like basically the only explanation at this point, because I know we sort of mused at like maybe this isn't a coincidence, but I can't imagine that there's anything specifically that they are doing that they could not be doing or doing differently that to prevent this. Like, it just
Right. And it's not like it's like bad turf knee injuries.
no.
Right? It's not like a lot of guys used to see back in the days of like the Astrodome and pure AstroTurf, which is basically carpet on concrete, right? That you could blame on bad turf or natural grass or whatever. But again, they're playing on, and even the funny thing is, you said it, out of the 3 turfs they're going to play on, Saskatoon Minor Football Field, Griffith Stadium, and Mosaic Stadium, the worst is their home building, and it seems to never happen there.
Yeah.
Minus that one year where like 3 guys went down on one drill.
Yeah. Well, that was a whole other thing, but yeah, it's got to be frustrating. Not only for the fans, obviously, but for the coaching staff as well, for Jeremy O'Day, who like year after year is dealing with trying to improve this line. And every single time he's like, okay, he makes moves and he makes what makes to be good moves, and then it just blows up in his face. Like,
Right? Again, exorcism, smudging, whatever, incense. I just go burn some stuff in some places and make it smell good and make the spirits go away.
yeah. Corey Mace was apparently trying to make some spirits go his way as well. Earlier
Not
today,
the way that not the same way I'm going to do it later.
You're very adept at making spirits go away.
You could call me a Ghostbuster.
As the Riders practiced on Thursday, but not for very long, as Corey Mace shut down practice, made them do some runs, and then decided that wasn't going very well either, and decided to just call it a day. And this happens every so often in practice and at camp, and I think it's a good thing. Basically, he wasn't happy with sort of the way things are going, and I think specifically, and fans will love to hear this, there was a lot of activity sort of after the whistles, or when would-be whistles, sort of after the whistle type penalty situations, which, despite the Riders improving in the penalty game last year, after the whistle activity remained sort of a bit of a problem for them.
Certainly did.
So I think this was a very astute move by Corey Mace to sit here and say, no, we're stopping this. We're stopping this right now. This is not going to happen. So we're not practicing the rest of the day. You're going to run a bit, and then you're going to get the hell out of here and get out of my face.
Well, and there's a lot of really bad old school coaching methods that are like, this is totally unhealthy and unsafe for everybody. Mm-hmm. What was it in Regina? 15 today?
About that, yeah.
Like, if you're going to make the guys...
Camps in Saskatoon, so what was it like up there?
Right. It was 15 and cloudy today, I can tell you that. Yeah, I should know that, because it's funny, I just have so much PTSD.
You literally just named all the fields they were playing at. 2 of them were up there.
I certainly did. Yep. That is what happens when John hasn't eaten and he's on his second beer.
We're barely qualified to talk about football.
We
don't even know where they're practicing. Who knows?
Right? I don't even know. But yeah, it was one of those days that I think you could send a message without affecting player safety, and I like it when a coach can do that, right?
And from a player perspective, like, I get it. Like, it's been the 2 weeks. You're ready to hit someone in a different color. Like, you've been looking at the same guy across from you for over 2 weeks now, almost 2 weeks. Like, you're ready, and you see that game coming. You're just getting ready, and you're kind of tired of practicing. You just want to play a game. So it's important for Corey Mace to say, no, yes, I understand you want to get, you're looking ahead a little bit and ready to play this game. We got to concentrate still on what we're doing right now.
Well, and I think it's good on all sides, because that's a great point, Gas. And you and I have seen it from our days of covering Ryder Camp. It gets chippy by the end.
Yeah, like those guys are ready to fight someone in a different color for a change.
Oh, yeah, it is the number of times you've heard any coach, any player say, I'm ready to hit somebody in a different jersey. Like, during training camp, that is a bigger cliche than get pucks deep, right?
But it's like real.
It 100% it's real. But it's just, it gets chippy. Good on Mace to shut it down before somebody gets hurt, before anybody does anything stupid. And you just want to have that emotional control. And let's face it, training camp is long, especially for a team like the Riders that...
Well, this is the first time in a couple years I think they didn't play that week 1 preseason game.
No. you're right. They didn't. And
which thank God they didn't. If it was here last weekend, it would have been miserable.
Oh, I was on a golf course last weekend. It was just good enough to golf. It wasn't much better than that. There would have been 12 people there. But it's good to preach discipline from the start. We know this is an issue with this team. And to be honest, Mace just shutting the whole damn thing down when you're into week 2 of training camp on a team that's a lot of veterans on this team. Everybody's kind of knowing what they're doing. I don't necessarily hate him just going, all right. It's a way of telling the guys you've done enough this week without being like, we're going bowling when we're on a 7-game losing streak, right? It's a similar mentality.
That one's just going to be coming up forever, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It's a total meme. It is a meme, and it is hilarious, and it's a perfect example of terrible coaching.
2056. The 3 Down Greencast is still going for some reason. John brings up bowling again.
Going bowling. Well, back in our day, you could go bowling, and the coach of the Rough Riders decided to do that. What a fool! That's going to be us in 2057. Still crushing pile of bones, I'm hoping. But I feel like you can tell and you can get that sense when you've covered practice and camp before. Guys are done with it, right? Like, guys are done with it. The guys that have auditioned to move up the depth chart have done their best as much as they can. You're at a point now that guys that are auditioning have done everything they possibly can every day in camp. Sometimes pull the plug, let the guys take a breather, run them as a punishment, but I feel like this is like a mental reset for everybody and a net positive, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think you're seeing, guys going out there that their plan is to go.
If you're doing this like day 3, then we got a problem. Yeah.
The absolute problem. You're doing this basically right before you're probably going to pack up and leave Saskatoon. We're all going to get the token Saskatoon was real nice stories. Thanks for the scooters.
Until Jamie Ricky stares at you from across the way.
It was a weekend story for the weekend anchor. News wanted it, okay?
You didn't ask the question, though, so it's okay.
I know, but that's why I was scared of the Nye stare down. I didn't want to ask a follow-up and be like, so how were your accommodations in Saskatoon? It's just, oh shit, Nye is staring at you. Hey coach, how's the first 2 weeks of camp? Okay, that was a little inside baseball.
That was way too inside baseball for anyone.
We got to tell the story here.
Should we? We've probably told the story before, I'm sure.
I know, but we just got like 700 new listeners last week. So, anyways, it's the dying days of training camp, but it was a day much like it was today. Chippy, everything, like lots of great stories. There was a CBA discussion. You and me and Nye. It was like, put it this way, it was so intense. I was even paying attention to practice that day, and this guy from a now defunct Saskatoon newspaper runs in, and if you don't know how scrums work, generally people that are there for the first time defer the questions to the guys that have been there for a while, right? Like Murray McCormick was there, Kevin Mitchell, Jamie Nye, like you, all sorts of people were there. And this news reporter runs in, and the scrum starts, and he cuts everybody off. Hey, coach! Hey, coach! What do you think of the first 2 weeks of training camp? And the look that Jamie and I gave this guy, and Murray McCormick, and I think Van Stone was there, everybody just gave this guy the death glares. And the best part was...
Especially because, like, Jamie had, like, a series of questions that he was, like, trying to get an answer to.
Yes! Jamie had a story on the go. And to cut in front of everybody to ask that question, the best part was, it was Corey Chamberlain, and I'll never forget the knowing grin that Chamberlain gave Nye. And I'll never forget this. Chamberlain grins and goes, now that's a great question.
It's a great question. Like wings at Jamie.
Unreal. So sorry if that was a little inside baseball, but you all now know.
Mm-hmm. A guy that will probably get questions about towards Corey Mace after the game, as I say that in proper English.
Words. Okay, I know you're like the transition king. You're allowed to flub like one a year, okay? Yeah. It's preseason for us too.
My heart was in the right place on that one.
It was. I knew where you were going. I appreciate it.
Will be quarterback Jake Maier.
Yes.
As we haven't seen a depth chart yet. And they haven't really announced anything yet. But we assume on Saturday when the Riders play the Bombers that we will see Jake Maier at some point in that game for at least a little bit.
That's right.
Because there isn't really much in terms of, sort of the quarterback depth chart of this team right now. Obviously, Trevor Harris is number one. Jake Maier is like entrenched in number 2, and then you've got Tommy Stevens in 3rd spot doing short yardage, which we've talked about. We don't need to bring that up again.
Let somebody else do it.
Yeah. It's not like you have a running back who can lift 800 pounds, but anyway.
What?
Well, I guess I don't know if he can anymore. He dropped like 25 pounds. Well, yeah.
And he stopped wrestling.
Yeah, and well, and then Greektown Wrestling brought in one of the old guys, I think, who was there. One of the really old wrestlers was there for a spot recently, and it was awkward and it was weird.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. You sent it to me, and I was like cringing. Like
I was like, oh gosh, they got to get AJ back in there.
That's the funny part was though is like my brain's been so fried the past couple weeks between lacrosse and work and some personal stuff.
Yeah,
I thought you meant AJ Styles, and I'm like,
no.
What
I mean, AJ Styles would have been incredible in that spot.
Right,
sure.
that's what I'm like. What are you talking about? AJ Styles was never in Greektown. Yeah, that's the only guy that can make this match look good. But
yeah.
There's your inside wrestling talk for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. But the question, I think, really is, what are we going to see out of Jake Maier, right? Like, he hasn't been a backup in a while. He was been sort of a middling starting quarterback with the Calgary Stampeders. So, what are we going to see? And, he's obviously the clear favorite to be the backup, and he's probably, he'll start the year there. But if this doesn't go well, there's still something in the back of my mind of, okay, now what? Like, I assume at the end of the day, he'll still be the backup quarterback just because probably how much he's getting paid, the experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In a one-game situation, coming off the bench, that's what you want. In the inevitable, half a game, few series, couple of games, whatever it turns out being that Trevor Harris is not going to play this year because
he's going to miss time. Every quarterback does these days.
That is just the CFL in the 2020s.
Right. Or people not answering their phone.
Yeah.
Forces you to miss a game.
So, that's going to happen. So, what are we going to see out of Jake Maier? And I'm not saying he needs to go out there and, throw 100% of his passes and score a touchdown on every drive he's out there or anything like that. But if it's rough, I think there should be legitimate questions about where they're going at that spot. Because, Jack Cohn is still around. He was in the system with the team last year. And I don't know if he's particularly happy to be probably stuck on the practice roster this year because they put a glorified running back at QB3.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because Tommy Stevens is not going to be the guy to go out there to throw the football. So there's basically one opening, and Jake Maier's probably got it locked in at 99%. So he better show me something in this game.
I'm willing to give him a pass this game.
To a degree, sure.
Only because of the chaos of losing 2 offensive linemen.
Neither of them are probably going to play in this game anyway, though.
In fairness, no, you're not wrong. But even though those guys aren't going to play, that means you're now protecting other bodies that aren't going to play, and you're basically putting Jake Maier for the first time out there with future insurance salesmen on his offensive line. So I think to me, all I want to see out of Jake Maier is maybe some survival. Right, yeah. I just think
again, I said, he doesn't need to tear the house down, but he needs to show something. He needs to show that, he's competent in the pocket. He can basically run the Trevor Harris offense of 2 drops and throw, and get the ball out quick, which we've seen him do a lot. I wouldn't trust him. He throws a decent bomb sometimes, but I don't want to see that too often from him. I basically want to see him manage the game well, which is what you want out of your quarterback.
Especially out of your backup, right?
Backup quarterback, sorry, that's what I mean, yes. You need more out of your starter, but yes.
100%. You want your backup to not lose you a game, right? So I'm willing to give him a pass this week, strictly based on the offensive line depth absolutely going down to about, like I said, the 12th guy at this point, right? But to me, where I really want to see him do well is the final preseason tune-up when he's going to play with the ones, at least for a quarter, maybe a half, right? Now, again, that being said, if he comes out this week, I think he gets a pass no matter what he does. But if he comes out this week and makes a bunch of future car salesmen look really, really good, then I think, okay, maybe there's something there, right? He got away from, and I have no idea why Calgary did it, and you said it best. He's very good at the 1-2 throw, right? His deep ball is comically bad at points in Calgary last year. And for whatever reason, Calgary was like, yeah, throw deep again. Yeah, I don't know if Dave Dickinson has a humiliation kink, but their
offense is very predictable and very uninteresting, I guess we'll say.
Right. So to me, if he goes out, if he has a great game, that's a super positive sign. If he has a meh game, I'm willing to give him a pass just this week. Just this week.
Yeah, and like I said, I even next week, again, he doesn't need to go out there and throw, a bunch of touchdowns for how many drives he was in there or anything like that. But just show me some competency, something to be, sort of optimistic about for when he does inevitably see the field during a regular season game. That's all you really need to show. If you don't show that, all I'm saying is it should open the door.
I'm setting the bar at Tino Sinceri, not Seth Daggy.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $9.99. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.